French cinema has always asked us to look a little closer, not just at the world around us, but at ourselves. This Bastille Day, we're celebrating that tradition with a selection of conversations featuring some of the most exciting voices in contemporary French filmmaking. Rebecca Zlotowski explores family, identity, and memory in A Private Life. François Ozon reimagines Albert Camus The Stranger for a new generation. Louise Courvoisier brings warmth, humor, and authenticity to rural France in Holy Cow. And Laura Piani reminds us that love, literature, and self-discovery are never far apart in Jane Austen Wrecked My Life. These films are different in style, tone, and subject, but together they reflect the enduring spirit of French cinema. Bold, intimate, deeply human, and endlessly curious. They remind us that great cinema doesn't simply tell stories, it changes the way we see the world. Join us as we celebrate Bastille Day on Inside the Art House, starting now. Filmmaker Rebecca Zlotowski caught our attention with her fifth feature, Other People's Children, which was released in the US in 2023. So we were particularly excited to screen her follow-up film, A Private Life, a stylish French-language film. It stars Oscar-winning actress Jodie Foster, alongside César-winning Danielle Auteuil at the top of the cast. So there was even more to be excited about. This is not Foster's first French-language film performance, but it is her most accomplished, and she becomes the first American to be nominated for a César, the French Oscar, in the acting category. To learn more about how the film came into being, we spent some time with filmmaker Rebecca Zlotowski.
So the film is, your lead character is a therapist, a psychoanalyst. And I guess my first question is, has your therapist seen the film?
Don't mention it, please. This is like my worst. It's my worst fear, because I cannot and even I did a radio show 1 week ago, and I'm 100% sure that she would listen to it. And now when I introduce the movie, when I introduce the film to audiences, I'm is it maybe the film just is starts with the aggressive idea of seeing my shrink cry, and I feel bad. I feel bad with that. And I cannot mention, I cannot tell you how was the last session we had with my therapist. And I think I'm just it's the only thing I'm saying because it's too much, But one thing that is funny is that I noticed that there's not one protagonist when you're in therapy. There are two people that are the protagonists of the story. So it's not just about who's talking and who's listening. It's a story that is all together. So she's the second protagonist of this film that is just unseen, and I'll have a conversation with her pretty soon. Probably she doesn't want to see me anymore.
If the door's locked when you go for your next therapy session, you'll know.
In the film, your lead character is the actress who portrays your lead character is Jodie Foster. And I'm curious, was this, when you originally conceived of it, was the idea that this would be an American that would bring sort of that outsider perspective, or was that something that you modified as she expressed interest in appearing in the film?
When Anne Berest, who's the novelist and co-writer of the film, sent me her first draft, she was not supposed to be American. She was this psychiatrist living in France, living in Paris. But then, and the film was called with the eponymous title, just Lilian Steiner, which is the name of the character. Mm-hmm. I read it, and it's not fake modesty to say that everything was in it, but I was super I fell in love with the character, but there was no film, and the film started in my mind because I just I've been hit by the idea that it could be for Jodie. And the fact that she would be American led me to narrative plots. Of course, if she's American, she's recording the patients. And if she records the patients, she can be robbed with those recordings. And it can be, there's this movie that I love, Nightmare Alley, where there's so many suspicion on, psychiatrists and psychanalysts, in the 40s, where they would record people to blackmail them. This was the fear of people towards psychanalysis in the beginning. So this is something we loved to play with and to play around. Jodie never expressed any interest before I wanted her to make it. When we met the first time, she literally explained to me the film, which is the best thing that can happen to a filmmaker. Mm-hmm. She was this is interesting. She read the two drafts of the film that I sent her. thinking that she would never read the first one. She was like touring with True Detective. She was pretty busy. And I was like that with my producer, like, okay, let's face it, she will never answer. But she did. And she had read like the 2 drafts that I sent, that I've been sending. And she was like, not only I like the character, but I like the direction you take. And she explained the film and enlightened it. And this is something that you don't witness that often as a filmmaker. I love when Jodie says like, if you want to know me, just watch my films. And someone else told me, oh, is this on purpose that you called the film, like you titled the film like Vie Privée? So when you type on Google right now, a private life, Jodie Foster's private life, you fall on the film. So I was like, this is so smart.
That's funny.
This is so smart. So literally like Jodie Foster is smart enough, like is like that intelligent. So to protect her privacy, she does a film that is called A Private Life. I don't know. This is the kind of, you can just like, and I love the fact that she's the prophet in a way. I mean, like, what did she see in this film that makes it interesting? And it gives you so much confidence in the beginning because you feel it's like, it's meaningful. Like it's worth making it if she paid interest to it. So this is probably the reason, like one of the 1,000 reasons why we all love her.
How do you direct Jodie Foster? What do you say? What do you not say? What was there rehearsal? How do you navigate between take 2 and take 3? Do you know what I mean? I'm curious what that process was like because she's a director, she's a formidable actress, but what's her process? I guess.
I think that eventually, it's always like this is the question with every actors and actresses. You need to find the grammaire and the languages for everyone, which is like probably like the job of the director. This is probably like the only job. Like I write as well, but the moment of the filmmaking, like as we mentioned, I cannot like just like create any setup. I cannot create any costume. I don't know anything. The only thing that we are like responsible of is create a language that works with someone. And with Jodie, it's been like, eventually it's not Jodie Foster, the monument that you visit because you cannot work like that.
Right.
And even it's not polite to be like that.
Yes.
Because after 1 second, of course, there's an asymmetry. You know her so much more than she knows you. So this is unfair. And you have to fix that all the time. So first she came like 1 month in France and we did the same way I do with my actors in France. We had dinner, we walked in the streets, we've been talking of the script, we've been reading it, like rehearsing it with like, configurations of family configurations in the film, like Daniel Auteuil and her, Vincent Lacoste, like the son, the ex-husband and her, the patient and her, the other anyway. So we do that in order to read, like to go through the script. And then eventually we play.
Let's take a look at a clip from the film. This is a clip from the film A Private Life, co-written by Rebecca Zlotowski, our guest here on Inside the Art House, and it features Jodie Foster and Daniel Auteuil.
Il a tué la tante et puis sa femme.
Je croyais que t'aimais pas les huîtres.
C'est vrai, j'aime pas du tout ça. J'ai trouvé des choses compromettantes chez lui, dont il se débarrassait.
Tu fais ses poubelles?
Oui, c'est mon boulot.
Oh, tu trembles.
Je suis persuadée qu'il m'a vu.
Mais non. Ça y est, on a fini pour les...
Je pense que vous avez même pas voulu dîner ensemble pour mes 20 ans. Vous m'avez pourri mon adolescence avec votre séparation. Tout ça pour... Non, désolé, c'est pas du tout sympa.
I love them.
Yeah, it plays against Americans' expectations of French cinema, where, of course, everybody's having an affair, on their spouse. and And here the affair is with their ex-spouse.
This is my gift. This is my gift to American audience. This is like the flirt.
Thank you. Yes. We have faith in the French people again.
Please consider subscribing to Inside the Art House and take a second to like, comment, and share. It's the best way to support the show and help more people discover the conversations with the filmmakers you love. You can also listen to Inside the Art House on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite shows. The Stranger by Albert Camus is one of the most popular works of literary fiction of all time. Consistently ranked among the top novels of the 20th century, it has been translated into over 75 languages and has found favor among readers from the Beat Generation to Gen Z. Now, French filmmaker François Ozon takes on the challenge of adapting the work to the screen, and he has succeeded masterfully. Nearly 30 years after his debut feature, See the Sea, first screened in U.S. art houses, François Ozon continues to be one of international cinema's most provocative and versatile voices. With The Stranger, he has once again crafted something that is both faithful and freshly relevant, well worth the price of admission.
You said that adaptation is an act of, there's an element of betrayal, and I wonder, what did you have to betray in this case in order to make this movie?
Well, I think when you adapt a book, you have to accept the idea that literary language and cinematic language are different experiences. This book was a big challenge to adapt because it's so very well known. It's the third most well-known French book in the world. And one also has to accept that in adapting a book like this, you have as many directors as you have readers, which is to say that when someone reads a book like this one imagine the images, perhaps cast certain actors in their mind as the characters. And so for me, there was a certain anxiety in making this film, but it was also very exciting. And it was very important for me that this film not be kept to 1942, but that it be a film of 2026, that it be seen with the eyes of today. What particularly struck me when I reread this book is the degree to which the Arab people in the book were invisibilized. To readers today, this is very shocking. For instance, the Arab characters do not have names. The Arab community is not described. Now, this was not a racist intention on Camus' part. In 1942, this had a great deal of meaning. But to me, it seemed clear that this needed to be contextualized for the present day. So I met with a great number of historians to be able to understand what French Algeria was like. For me, it was important to start the film with these archival images from the era that the novel was written to show what the French propaganda message on Algeria was. It was this idealized version of Algeria, when in fact, once I started doing research, I understood that it was an apartheid society where the Arab population were second-class citizens, were treated as the indigenous people, and that in fact, as Camus saw it, these were two parallel, separate communities, and it was not an ideal world at all.
Et Camus, à l'époque, n'a pas eu besoin de le décrire dans son livre parce que c'était la réalité.
Camus didn't need to describe all this because this was simply the French reality at the time. For French people, Algeria was France. It was a French department. And so I thought it was important to put this in a film today so that Camus' intentions would be understandable.
Et le premier choix que j'ai fait en relisant...
The first choice that I made when I reread the book for the adaptation was in dealing with this very, very famous sentence that is in fact the first sentence of the book, which in 1942 was incredibly modern, which is, "Aujourd'hui, maman est morte, today, mom died." And all of France was watching me, waiting to see how I was going to adapt this particular sentence. But in fact, to me, there was another sentence that was much more important, which is this sentence, "J'ai tué un arabe." I killed an Arab. When Meursault arrives in prison and finds himself facing a group of Arab prisoners. It's an incredibly striking, direct, honest sentence that to me seems much more important in the context of today. And that's why I started the film with that sentence.
I have to ask you about Benjamin Voisin. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Voisin.
Voisin.
His performance is astounding, and he is able to inhabit this place in a way that feels he makes it look easy, I guess I want to say, and I know it's not.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah, no, I can't have been, and to be able to again inhabit that in a way and not comment on it, or to literally just be present and do nothing and receive what's happening. How did you work with him? How did you work with him between takes? What did you say to him? How did you evolve a language where you could get him to that place? Because it's so pure and so...
I said to him, shut up. No, it's we had a great experience. You know, it's the second time we worked together. We met summer of '85 some years ago. We are very close friends, but this film was a real challenge for him as an actor, because I asked him not to act. And it's quite difficult to ask to an actor not to act, because he's paid for that usually. But it was a composition. He has really to create a character who is far away of his own personality. So it was a big challenge. And I asked him to read the book of Robert Bresson, Notes on the Cinematograph, in which Bresson explained he doesn't look for actors. For him, actors come from theater, but in cinema we need models. So it was interesting for Benjamin to watch the movies of Bresson, especially Pickpocket, you know, and he was totally depressed during the shooting. He was very sad because he was so focused on his character and spectator of everything, you know. He was really not an actor. Except at the end of the film when he's in front of the priest. At this moment, he can really act and express his emotions like the character.
Well, I think it's very wise to look at Camus today to understand the folly and absurdity of the world today, whether it's the wars in Iran, in Ukraine, the rise of authoritarianism, the rise of the extreme right around the world. It's very good to look at Camus, because Camus was not in favor of nihilism the way Meursault was. What Camus championed was revolt. His very famous book, L'Homme Révolté, Man in Revolt, was very important. And it's important to look at a philosopher like Camus today, because though he was much criticized in his era because he did not accept any of the dominant ideologies, communism, fascism, etc. And Sartre, on the other hand, was considered the great philosopher because he was politically aligned. We realize today that it was Camus who was right.
I guess I just follow that up to say, is that does the character of Meursault and his way of seeing the world, I mean, is Meursault a moral void? Or is he a character just refusing to lie about the world that he's living in?
Je pense que la force du livre, et c'est pour ça que c'est un chef-d'œuvre.
That's really the power of this novel, and it's why it's a masterpiece. It's that anyone can interpret it any way he or she wants. And so both things you suggested are possible. But I do think that the scene with the priest at the end of the novel is very important. And I think that without this scene, I may not have made the film. In that scene, Meursault explodes. As he puts it himself, he wakes up to the world and he expresses his revolt. He becomes an actor or player of his life rather than simply a spectator. He realizes that he may once have been happy. Meursault's revolt in this scene is against Catholicism because that was the dominant ideology in France at the time, but he's really revolting against all ideologies. And I think this is really a key to the character of Meursault, who has evolved over the course of the novel.
We were able to sit down in the lobby of the fabled Film Forum Theater with filmmaker Louise Courvoisier to talk about her new film, Holy Cow, her César Award-winning debut feature. After winning a prize at the 2019 Cannes Film Festival for her short film, Mano a Mano, Courvoisier returned to the Jura region in France where she grew up and started working on a story about the hard-scrabble lives of the people who make the region's renowned Comté cheese. Using non-professional actors, Courvoisier's film is a beautiful and moving look at the lives of those who work in close contact with nature to create the produce which ends up in fancy shops and restaurants around the world.
Actually, I have a lot of American inspirations for this film because I feel like in France we don't really know how to film the countryside in a very sexy way like you do here in the US.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that we filmed this roughness in the countryside, but with a nice aesthetic, with the light, with the working on an organic way of filming. But then I really needed something very authentic, something very realistic about the characters, like the people I was talking about, since I was really inspired by my childhood.
And you grew up there.
Yeah, I grew up there. I really wanted to talk about these people that I know very well and that the rest of the country, even in France, really don't really know. So we have a different accent. A lot of things are very different. And so I wanted to put the light on these people. And for that, I needed the casting to come from there. I wrote thinking about real people. So I knew I was going to find them in real life. But it was a long process because they didn't want to do cinema. It's not in their life. They're farmers for most of them. So I really needed to convince them to do a casting with me and maybe want to... It was a hard process. And then like the main actor, Clément, when I came to him, I knew that he had some energy that was really close to the character because he was kind of the leader of his group, but still a very thin, very nervous guy.
Wiry.
So, something very...
Yeah.
So I liked the energy. So I went to him and I said, do you want to do a casting with me? And he said, no, I'm not interested. Not at all. So I said, okay, maybe you can think about it, talk about the project to your friends and stuff, and if you change your mind, I'm here. So he changed his mind. We met, but he wasn't sure. He said maybe one or 2 days as an extra or something. I was okay, maybe think about it. We did a lot of casting together, and in the end, he said, okay, maybe why not? Like, he was like, why not? So it was a lot of those kind of meetings and stuff, and I had to adapt to them and to their personality. And like, I watched him move, I watched him talk, and I said, okay, maybe my scene is not very accurate. I have to rewrite it for him. I did the same for all the characters. And actually, I was this precise also with all the extras, the small parts. Everybody in the film is very, very specifically chosen
From the place. Yeah.
And I really needed everyone to be very real, like
natural.
Yeah. Where I'm from, everybody lives from cheese because it's a big thing there, the Comté cheese, and it's a very small area. You cannot do Comté cheese somewhere else. It's a very restricted
like
area.
Champagne, right?
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting to really put this in light too, to really tell about a place the whole way, and also in the plot, in the adventure of the film, to really try to put it in. So it was from the beginning, but then I didn't know how I was gonna manage to film cheese because it's never been done, or I don't know about it. So,
right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a little thing.
Cheese is a little static.
I'm gonna have to research my
it's very
cheese
hard.
movies.
Yeah. So it was very hard. So I did a lot of research. I had we call it a coach, like a cheese coach that really helped us during the writing and then during the shooting. He was there for all the cheese making scenes.
Just to keep it authentic.
Yeah, to keep it authentic and to know how to do, because we really did real cheese, because usually you fake it in the cinema.
Right.
But for these scenes, especially one scene when he's with his little sister and they're making cheese together, nothing happens in the scene. It's only them together concentrating. There's no music, no dialogue. So something had to really happen in the scenes so that we could feel it, you know? So we decided to make real cheese. So he could not miss. He had to really learn and practice the actor.
And was that his first time making the cheese?
So we rehearsed a bit before, so he did some cheese.
But it's not something he does in
he's in the chicken industry.
Okay.
So
He's a chicken expert, right?
Okay.
We were seeing it happen.
So it was nice actually to do this. It's like the calving scene in the film when the cow.
Oh, when the cow is born. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this scene was also
real.
So we had some scenes where we were almost shooting like a documentary. We had to change all the way of shooting to make it happen. And I like when these kind of things, it's also interesting. Yeah.
Jane Austen has inspired some of our favorite movies. They're the faithful adaptations. They're the more fanciful adaptations, like the Emma-inspired Clueless. Then you have the Jane Austen adjacent films. Laura Piani's Jane Austen Wrecked My Life is a new romantic comedy squarely in this last category, and it is a most welcome addition to the club. A beguiling Camille Rutherford stars as a desperately single Parisian bookseller who feels that she has lost her chance at love. But when she's invited to participate in a writer's retreat in England, she finds herself tossed into an Austen-esque situation, juggling the affection of two suitors and trying to find a way to stay true to herself.
I remember reading Jane Austen when I was a teenager, because I was ready to read anything that had romance, and I remember waiting for the sex scenes that never happened in Jane Austen. And then I reread Jane Austen when I was working as a bookseller at Shakespeare & Company. I was in my mid-20s, and then I remember being struck by everything I missed when I was too young, the humor first, how funny she was, how feminist also, the question that she was raising. She was born 350 years ago, and it's a big enigma, a big mystery. Like, she wrote few novels, but she's still one of the most celebrated writers everywhere in the world. And I've been traveling with the film, and you have like Jane Austen Society in Spain, in Greece, in Italy. So she found something that still resonates with so many people. And I can only talk about what was it for me? But I don't know. I think it's probably different for everyone. For me, the big discovery was, for example, that I realized that she never described physically her heroines. The women, the lead characters in her novels, you don't know what they look like. You do know that they're clever, you know that they're funny, you know that they have good heart, but you don't know if they're super ugly or extremely beautiful. It's not the point. And this was not made before. I mean, before her, when you were reading a book, you knew exactly what the woman looked like. And the whole journey of this character would be depending on that description, that physical description. So I think this is revolutionary. Working at Shakespeare & Company, for example, I remember I had night shift. I worked from 4 to 11 because the bookshop was open at night at this time. And I was surrounded by aspiring actors, musicians, or writers like me. And we felt that we shared this feeling of like being misplaced, we didn't fit. There was a feeling of inadequacy with the world. I remember it very, very clearly. And I think many people feel that, especially nowadays. It would be weird nowadays to feel that you were in the perfect place at the perfect time. I think what I was also experiencing as a filmmaker was that I was missing rom-coms that were outhouse rom-coms, intimate, independent comedies, I don't know what happened since the 90s, since the golden age of the British rom-coms, the Richard Curtis ones, the 4 Weddings and a Funeral. And I don't know what happens to rom-com. It became, something very marketed for platforms most of the time. But the outhouse cinema looked down a bit on rom-coms. And so I did this film because it came from a very simple thing of like, I miss it as a viewer. I need more rom-coms. I'm so grateful for the work she did, because when you write a film like this that is very intimate, very much based on very important things in my life. So the character is not me, but it comes from many things that I've been through, especially the grieving part, and so the books, the writing relationship with writing, the imposters thing, etc. Like all the things that you put in the first film. What is so beautiful is when you meet an actress that is taking over this character that was in your mind. And so if she was next to me, I would say that the character would be sit in between us, she created something. We created something together that was the character. That was beyond what I wrote. It's beautiful. It's exactly what it should be, actually. The collaboration between a writer-director and an actress.